I just spent 3 weeks planning every detail and $2,300 of my own money for my nephew's birthday party. Then I found out my 8-year-old daughter wasn't even invited. When I discovered why my sister excluded her, I realized I'd been played in the worst possible way. The text message pinged into my phone on a Tuesday morning while I was sitting in my home office in Riverside Heights. Coffee getting cold as I worked on yet another logo design for a small business client. The notification made me smile before I even opened it. My sister Natasha's name always brought a mix of affection and mild anxiety. She was the kind of person who texted either "hey" with no follow-up for 3 days, or paragraphs of crisis that needed immediate intervention. This time it was somewhere in between. "Hey Camille, could you help me plan Tyler's 10th birthday? I'm completely drowning with this new job and you're basically a party planning genius. Would mean the world to me and Tyler keeps asking about it." I set down my stylus and leaned back in my ergonomic chair, looking out the window at the quiet suburban street where identical houses lined up like patient soldiers. Riverside Heights wasn't the most exciting place to live, but it was stable, predictable, safe, everything I'd wanted when I'd bought this house after my divorce 3 years ago. The kind of neighborhood where kids rode bikes until sunset, and neighbors actually knew each other's names. Natasha lived across town in the trendy Millbrook district, in one of those converted warehouse lofts with exposed brick and floor-to-ceiling windows. It was gorgeous, expensive, and completely impractical for raising a 10-year-old boy, but that was Natasha in a nutshell: style over substance, dreams over details. I immediately typed back, "Of course, what were you thinking for the party?" The response came quickly, as if she'd been waiting by her phone. "Oh my God, thank you. I was thinking dinosaur theme, he's obsessed. Maybe 20 kids. I have zero time to research venues or anything. New job is kicking my butt. You're a lifesaver." I couldn't help but smile. This was classic Natasha, enthusiastic about the outcome, completely overwhelmed by the process. She'd started a new position as a marketing coordinator at Pinnacle Creative Solutions just 3 weeks ago, and according to our mother, she was working 12-hour days trying to prove herself. The job was a big step up from her previous role at a small nonprofit, both in responsibility and salary, but the adjustment period was clearly taking its toll. My phone buzzed again. "I'll pay you back for everything, obviously, just keep all the receipts. Tyler deserves something amazing and I trust you completely." That warm feeling spread through my chest, the feeling of being needed, of being the reliable one, the sister who could make things happen. Growing up, our roles had been clearly defined. Natasha was the creative dreamer, the one who painted murals on her bedroom walls and wrote poetry in the margins of her textbooks. I was the organizer, the one who reminded her about school projects and helped her create budgets for her wild ideas. Even now, at 32 and 34 respectively, those patterns held. Natasha would come up with brilliant concepts for marketing campaigns at work, while I turned abstract ideas into concrete plans with timelines, budgets, and backup strategies. It worked for us. It always had. "Absolutely," I texted back. "Let me start researching. When were you thinking, and any specific preferences besides dinosaurs?" "Third Saturday of next month. Gives us about 3 weeks. Tyler mentioned wanting a fossil dig activity thing he saw on YouTube. And maybe a volcano. I don't know. Whatever you think, you're so good at this stuff." I opened a new document on my laptop and started a planning file. Tyler's 10th birthday, dinosaur theme. 3 weeks was plenty of time if I started immediately. I'd learned from experience that the best venues and vendors got booked early, especially for weekend parties. The front door slammed downstairs, followed by the thunder of small feet on hardwood floors. "Mom, I'm home," my daughter Zoe's voice carried up the stairs. Bright and energetic despite it being the end of a school day, 8 years old and pure sunshine, Zoe had inherited my organizational tendencies but paired them with an optimism that sometimes amazed me. Where I saw problems to solve, she saw adventures to plan. "Up here, sweetheart." I called back, minimizing my work files. "How was school?" She appeared in my office doorway still wearing her purple backpack, brown curls escaping from the ponytail I'd carefully crafted that morning. Good, we learned about metamorphic rocks in science. Did you know they form under intense pressure and heat, like when mountains are being made? That's fascinating, I said, genuinely interested. Zoe had recently developed an obsession with geology that rivaled most graduate students' enthusiasm. Speaking of rocks, I just got asked to help plan Tyler's birthday party, and he wants a dinosaur theme with fossil dig activities. Her eyes lit up immediately. Really, that sounds amazing. Fossils are basically rocks that tell stories about ancient life. Can I help plan it? I know lots about paleontology now. I'd love your help, I said, opening my arms for the after-school hug that had become our daily ritual. She dropped her backpack and launched herself into my lap, still small enough to fit comfortably in the space between me and my desk. Tyler's turning 10. So we need to make it special. 10 is a big deal, Zoe said seriously. That's double digits. We should definitely have a volcano. And maybe we could hide plastic dinosaurs in a sandbox for the fossil dig. I saw that on a science show. I grabbed a notebook and started jotting down her ideas. This was how our best plans always came together, bouncing ideas back and forth, building on each other's creativity. Zoe might be 8, but she had an imagination that often sparked solutions I wouldn't have considered on my own. What about the cake? She asked, twirling a curl around her finger the way she did when she was thinking hard. Could we make it look like a dinosaur, or maybe like layers of rock with fossils in between? Those are brilliant ideas. Want to help me research venues tomorrow after school? Yes, can we go see some in person? I want to make sure they have good spaces for fossil dig areas. I laughed, pressing a kiss to the top of her head. Absolutely. We'll make this the best dinosaur party Tyler's ever had. Over the next few days, party planning became our shared project. I'd work on vendor research and budget spreadsheets during school hours, then Zoe and I would spend our evenings testing activity ideas and refining the theme. She helped me create a Pinterest board filled with dinosaur party inspiration. Her 8-year-old perspective often leading us toward ideas that were both more creative and more practical than my initial thoughts. Look at this one, Mom, she said on Thursday evening, pointing to her tablet screen where she'd found a video of kids excavating chocolate chip fossils from cookie dough. We could do something like this but with actual fossil replicas. I added it to our growing list of activities. The list was getting comprehensive. Fossil dig sandbox, volcano eruption demonstration, dinosaur egg hunt, prehistoric craft station, and a paleontologist dress-up area with safari hats and magnifying glasses. Natasha and I talked every few days, but her responses were always brief and scattered. Sounds perfect, she'd text back to my detailed venue options. Whatever you think is best. To my questions about dietary restrictions and guest count. You're amazing. To my budget estimates. I didn't mind her lack of input. Honestly, it was easier to plan without someone constantly changing their mind or second-guessing decisions, and I understood that her new job was demanding. Marketing coordinator positions required long hours, especially in the first few months when you were trying to establish credibility and learn company culture. By the end of the first week, I'd secured the perfect venue, Oak Ridge Community Center, which had both indoor party space and an adjacent playground with a large sandbox area perfect for fossil excavate. Ions. The booking fee was $180, reasonable for what we were getting. Mom, this place is perfect, Zoe exclaimed when we visited on Saturday morning. She immediately ran to the sandbox and started digging with her hands, testing the sand quality. The sand is the right consistency for hiding things. And look, there's shade from these trees so the kids won't get too hot while they're digging. The community center coordinator, a friendly woman named Linda, showed us around the indoor space. We get a lot of kids' parties, she said, and this dinosaur theme sounds wonderful. The sandbox is definitely popular for treasure hunt type activities. What about decorations? I asked, mentally measuring wall spaces and ceiling height for hanging decorations. You're welcome to decorate however you'd like, as long as everything's cleaned up afterward. Some families like to bring in their own backdrop decorations for photos. I made notes about decoration possibilities while Zoe continued her geological survey of the playground equipment. By the time we left, I had a complete understanding of the space and several new ideas for how to maximize the venue's potential. So I just spent 3 weeks planning every detail and $2,300 of my own money for my nephew's birthday party. Then I found out my 8-year-old daughter wasn't even invited. When I discovered why my sister excluded her, I realized I'd been played in the worst possible way. The text message pinged into my phone on a Tuesday. "Tyler's really smart," she explained while we evaluated different types of plastic dinosaurs for the fossil dig. "He'll appreciate accuracy. These ones look more like actual species that paleontologists have discovered." At Party Palace, we found perfect decorative elements, life-sized cardboard dinosaur cutouts, realistic hanging pterodactyls, and a stunning volcano centerpiece that actually bubbled with dry ice effects. The total for decorations came to $340, but seeing Zoe's excitement as she imagined how everything would look together, I knew it was worth it. "This is going to be the best party ever," she said, carefully arranging the plastic dinosaurs we'd bought in the cart. "Tyler's going to feel so special." Monday morning brought the cake consultation. I'd made an appointment with Sweetness and Light, the premier bakery in Riverside Heights, known for their custom children's birthday cakes. Zoe had convinced me to take her along for quality control, she'd said with the seriousness of a seasoned party planner. The baker, a cheerful woman named Diane, listened to our vision with growing enthusiasm. "A geological layer cake with hidden fossils, that's brilliant. I've never done anything quite like that. Each layer could be a different geological period," Zoe explained, pulling out a hand-drawn diagram she'd created. Triassic on the bottom, then Jurassic, then Cretaceous on top. And we could put different types of dinosaur fossils between the layers so when you cut into it, you discover them. Diane was genuinely impressed. "This young lady knows her paleontology. I love the educational aspect. We could use different colored cake layers to represent the geological periods, and edible fossil candies between layers." The custom cake quote was $280, more than I'd initially budgeted for dessert, but the artistry and uniqueness seemed worth it for Tyler's milestone birthday. Plus, Zoe's pride in contributing to the design made it feel like an investment in her creativity as well. "Mom, Tyler's going to flip when he sees this cake," she said as we drove home. "It's like a science project and a dessert combined." Tuesday and Wednesday were dedicated to activity supplies. We needed materials for the fossil dig, volcano eruption demonstration, and craft stations. Zoe accompanied me to the educational supply store after school, where we carefully selected fossil replicas, excavation tools, and materials for making plaster dinosaur eggs. "These fossils look really authentic," Zoe said, examining a set of replica trilobites and ammonites. "Kids are going to feel like real paleontologists when they find these." The educational supplies were more expensive than typical party favor toys, but they offered genuine learning value. $180 for fossil replicas and excavation tools. $95 for volcano demonstration materials, $140 for craft supplies. Every purchase felt justified when I imagined Tyler's face lighting up as he discovered genuine-looking fossils in the sandbox. Thursday evening was decoration prep. Zoe and I spread all our supplies across the living room floor, creating an assembly line for putting together goodie bags, preparing craft station materials, and organizing decorations for easy setup. "This looks like a dinosaur research station exploded," Zoe giggled, surveying the organized chaos around us. She was carefully placing fossil replicas into individual excavation kits, her tongue poking out slightly in concentration the way it did when she was focused on detailed work. "Good thing we're organized," I said, checking items off my detailed preparation list. "Saturday's going to be here before we know it." "Tyler's going to love this so much," she said for what felt like the 100th time. "Do you think there will be other kids there that I know, maybe some from my school?" "I'm not sure, sweetie. Aunt Natasha didn't give me the guest list details. But there will probably be kids from Tyler's class and maybe some family friends." Friday was setup day. I'd arranged to access the community center early so we could transform the space into a prehistoric wonderland. Zoe had practically vibrated with excitement all morning, checking the clock every few minutes. "Can we go now? Can we go now?" she asked at 10 a.m., despite our planned departure time of noon. "Soon? Sweetheart, I want to double-check our supply list one more time." We loaded my SUV with boxes of decorations, activity supplies, and setup materials. The back was packed so full that the rearview mirror was useless. But everything fit with careful Tetris-like arrangement. The transformation of the community center was magical. Zoe directed decoration placement with the authority of a museum curator, ensuring that each dinosaur cutout was positioned for maximum impact and authenticity. "The T-Rex should be near the entrance to greet everyone," she declared. "And the pterodactyls look best hanging at different heights to create depth." We set up activity stations around the room, the fossil dig area in the sandbox outside, the volcano demonstration space on a covered table, the craft station with supplies for making dinosaur eggs, and a photo booth area with prehistoric props. The venue looked incredible, professional, educational, and fun, exactly what a 10-year-old dinosaur enthusiast would dream of for his birthday party. The geological layer cake from Sweetness and Light had arrived that morning and sat as the stunning centerpiece, each layer perfectly representing different prehistoric eras. "Mom, this is amazing," Zoe said, standing in the center of the decorated space and slowly turning to take it all in. "Tyler's going to remember this party forever." I felt a deep satisfaction looking at what we'd accomplished together. 3 weeks of planning, research, shopping, and preparation had created something truly special. The total cost had reached $2,300, higher than I'd initially estimated, but every dollar had gone toward making Tyler's birthday memorable and meaningful. That evening, Natasha called to check in. She sounded exhausted but grateful. "Camille, I can't thank you enough for handling all of this." I drive by the community center on my way home from work and saw some of the decorations through the windows. "It looks incredible. Zoe and I had so much fun putting it together," I said, watching my daughter organize the last of the goodie bags at the kitchen table. "She's been the best assistant planner I could ask for. Tell her thank you from me. Tyler's been talking about this party nonstop. He's so excited he can barely sleep." "What time should we be there tomorrow?" I asked, mentally reviewing our setup timeline. "I want to arrive early to make sure everything's perfect." There was a pause, a strange, uncomfortable pause that made me stop organizing party supplies and pay attention. "Oh," Natasha said finally, her voice carrying an odd tone I couldn't quite identify. "Actually, Camille, the party is really just for Tyler's school friends and a few family friends. You know how it is with kids' parties, they can get overwhelming with too many people." I felt something cold settle in my stomach, though I couldn't pinpoint why. "Of course, I understand. What time should Zoe and I be there to help with setup and activities?" Another pause, longer this time. "Actually, I think we've got the day of stuff covered. You've done so much already. You should just relax tomorrow." The cold feeling spread. "Natasha, are you saying Zoe and I aren't invited to the party?" "It's not that you're not invited, exactly. It's just, well, it's really Tyler's day, you know. And he wanted to keep it small. Just the kids from his class and their parents." I sat down heavily in my kitchen chair, staring at the goodie bag Zoe had so carefully prepared. At the backup activity supplies we'd organized for smooth execution. At the detailed timeline I'd created for managing the day's events. "Natasha," I said slowly, "I just spent 3 weeks and $2,300 planning this party. Zoe has been talking about helping with activities and seeing Tyler's reaction to everything we planned together. And it's going to be perfect because of all your work. Tyler's going to have the best day ever thanks to you. But you know how kids' parties can be chaotic and loud. Probably not that fun for adults anyway." Something was very wrong. Didn't feel like gratitude or consideration. This felt like dismissal, like being used. "Let me make sure I understand," I said, my voice becoming dangerously calm. "You want me to plan and pay for Tyler's entire birthday party, but Zoe and I aren't welcome to attend." "It's not that you're not welcome, it's just Natasha." I cut her off. "Yes or no? Are Zoe and I invited to Tyler's birthday party tomorrow?" The silence stretched so long I wondered if the call had dropped. Finally, in a small voice, she said, "No." The word hung in the air like smoke from a fire I couldn't see yet. No. Simple, final. Devastating. I stared at my phone screen, watching the call timer continue counting seconds that felt like hours. In the background, I could hear Zoe humming while she arranged the last goodie bags on our kitchen table, completely unaware that her world was about to shift. "No," I repeated slowly, testing the word like it might change meaning if I said it differently. "No, we're not invited to the party we planned and paid for. Camille, please don't make this harder than it needs to be." Natasha's voice carried that particular tone she'd used since childhood when she knew she was wrong but hoped emotional manipulation might smooth things over. "You know I appreciate everything you've done. This is about Tyler having the perfect day with his friends. I felt something cold and sharp forming in my chest. "Natasha, what aren't you telling me? What do you mean?" "I mean this conversation doesn't make sense. 3 weeks ago you begged me to help because you were overwhelmed. I've been texting you updates, sending you photos of decorations, asking for input on activities. You've been enthusiastic about everything. And now, 12 hours before the party, you're suddenly telling me the guest list is too small to include the people who created this entire event." Silence. "Natasha, it's complicated, okay? There are things about the guest list that, look, Tyler specifically asked for certain people not to be there." The cold feeling spread from my chest down through my arms. "Tyler specifically asked for Zoe not to be there." Not exactly. What exactly? Then, I heard her take a deep breath, the kind of breath people take before they say something they know will hurt. "Some of the other parents, they have concerns." "What kind of concerns?" "About mixing different social groups. You know how it is with kids' parties. Parents want their children around similar families." The words hit me like ice water. Similar families. I looked around my modest but comfortable kitchen in Riverside Heights, at my 8-year-old daughter carefully arranging party favors for children who apparently weren't supposed to mix with our social group. "Natasha, what are you actually saying?" "I'm saying that some of Tyler's friends' parents prefer more exclusive gatherings. They're concerned about the dynamics when you mix different backgrounds." "Different backgrounds?" My voice came out flat, emotionless. "You mean because I'm a single mother?" "It's not about that specifically." "What is it about specifically?" Another pause. When she spoke again, her voice was smaller, almost ashamed. "The Hendersons are hosting at their estate in Willowbrook Meadows. They offered to cover all the costs and handle everything, but they have preferences about the guest list." Willowbrook Meadows, the most exclusive gated community in our area, where houses started at $2 million and the whole fees cost more than most people's rent. I felt pieces of a puzzle clicking into place, forming a picture I didn't want to see. "When did the Hendersons offer to host?" "About a week ago." "A week ago?" I was still speaking in that eerily calm voice. "You've known for a week that the party was moving to an exclusive venue with a restricted guest list, and you didn't tell me." "I didn't know how to." "You didn't know how to tell me that you were letting me spend 3 weeks planning in $2,300 paying for a party that my daughter wasn't welcome at?" "It's not like that, but it was exactly like that, and we both knew it." I could see the whole thing now, clear as day. Natasha had genuinely been overwhelmed initially. She'd asked for help because she needed it, but somewhere along the way, someone had offered her something better, a party at an exclusive venue, paid for by wealthy parents, with the kind of guest list that would elevate Tyler's social status. And my planning, my money, my daughter's excitement, none of that mattered compared to the opportunity to be included in Willowbrook Meadows society. "Mom," Zoe's voice came from behind me, small and uncertain. "Is everything okay? You sound upset." I turned to look at her, this beautiful 8-year-old who had spent 3 weeks pouring her heart into creating something special for her cousin. She was holding a goodie bag in each hand, fossil excavation kits we'd carefully assembled together, her face bright with anticipation for tomorrow's adventure. "Sweetie, can you give me just a few more minutes to finish this call?" She nodded and went back to her organizing, but I caught the worried glance she threw over her shoulder. Children always know when something's wrong, even when adults try To hide it, Natasha, I said quietly, I need you to be completely honest with me right now. Is Tyler's party tomorrow still at Oak Ridge Community Center with the decorations Zoe and I set up? Silence. Is Tyler's party happening at the Henderson Estate in Willowbrook Meadows? Yes. Are any of the decorations, activities, or planning that Zoe and I did being used at this new party? Some of it. Mrs. Henderson thought the geological cake idea was clever. And the fossil dig concept. My hands started shaking. You're using our ideas at a party we're not invited to. Camille, please try to understand. No. The word came out harder than I intended. No, I don't think I will try to understand this. Let me see if I have this right. You asked me to plan and pay for Tyler's birthday party. I spent 3 weeks and $2,300 creating something special. Then wealthy parents offered you a better venue and more prestigious guest list, so you decided to take our ideas, exclude my daughter, and pretend this was always the plan. It's not that simple, it's exactly that simple. I stood up and walked to the kitchen window, looking out at the quiet street where Zoe and I had imagined driving to Tyler's party tomorrow morning. Excited and proud of what we'd accomplished together, you used me as free labor and then traded up when something better came along. I knew you'd react like this. You always make everything about you. The accusation hit like a slap. Always make everything about me, as if caring about my daughter's feelings was selfish, as if objecting to being used and discarded was dramatic. This isn't about me, Natasha. This is about an 8-year-old girl who has been planning this party for 3 weeks, who picked out every fossil replica thinking about Tyler's reaction, who helped me test cake recipes because she wanted everything to be perfect for her cousin. You're breaking her heart for a spot at the cool kids' table. Tyler specifically said he wanted a small party with just his closest friends. Tyler is 10 years old. He doesn't make decisions about guest lists and social exclusion. Adults do that. You did that. The Hendersons have been very generous. I don't care about the Hendersons. The words came out louder than I meant them to, and I saw Zoe's head pop up from the table, concerned. I took a breath and lowered my voice. I care about the fact that my sister just spent 3 weeks lying to me while I planned a party for a child who apparently doesn't want us there. He never said he didn't want you there, but you're saying it for him. You're saying that our social group isn't appropriate for his new friends. You're saying that my daughter, who helped create every detail of this party, isn't welcome to attend it. I heard her crying on the other end of the line. Not sobbing, just the quiet tears of someone who knows they've done something wrong but can't figure out how to fix it without losing what they want. I'm sorry, she whispered. I didn't plan for it to happen this way, but this is how it happened. And you had choices every day for the past week. You could have told me about the change in venue. You could have insisted that we be included in the new plan. You could have at least given me the option to stop spending money on a party we wouldn't attend. I know, but you didn't do any of those things. Because you wanted both. You wanted me to handle all the work and expense, and you wanted the social status of the Henderson party. And you figured you could just what? Tell me at the last minute and I'd be understanding. I hoped you'd understand that this is better for Tyler. This isn't better for Tyler. This is better for you. You get to attend an exclusive party without any of the planning stress or financial burden. Tyler gets to learn that some people are worth more than others based on their address and bank account. And my daughter gets to learn that family doesn't mean what she thought it did. The silence stretched between us, filled with years of similar patterns I was only now recognizing clearly. How many times had Natasha asked for help, then pivoted when something better came along? How many times had I been the backup plan, the reliable sister who could be counted on to understand when she was no longer needed? What do you want me to do? She asked finally. What I wanted was impossible. I wanted her to have never made this choice. I wanted her to have called me a week ago when the Hendersons first made their offer and said, "This is complicated, let's figure out how to include everyone." I wanted her to have put family above social climbing. What I wanted was for my 8-year-old daughter not to learn that people could smile at you while they discarded you. I want you to own what you've done, I said quietly. I want you to admit that you used me and that you chose social status over family. And I want you to think about what you're going to tell Tyler when he asks where the fossil dig activities are, or why his cake doesn't look like the geological masterpiece Zoe designed. Camille, I'm hanging up now. Tomorrow, you and Tyler can enjoy your party with people who are apparently more worth celebrating with than we are. But this isn't over, Natasha. This changes things between us. I ended the call and set my phone on the counter with hands that were still shaking. Outside, the sun was setting over Riverside Heights, painting everything in soft golden light that made our neighborhood look peaceful and warm. Inside, I had to figure out how to tell my daughter that family sometimes wasn't what we thought it was. Mom, Zoe appeared beside me, her voice small and worried. Are we still going to Tyler's party tomorrow? I looked down at her upturned face, at the trust and excitement still shining in her eyes, and felt my heart break in ways I didn't know were possible. No, sweetheart, we're not.